Hey everybody, it's Alex from Heavy New York. We are back at the Brooklyn Bazaar, and we have this whole room to ourselves, thank God, because it doesn't work that way often. But we return with Harm's Way. Thank you, Chris, for your time today.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Appreciate being here.
Yeah, it's awesome to have you here. Last time we had Bo, and a lot has happened. Posthuman was just out on your last run here, and now it's been out for almost a year, right? How's the record cycle been?
The record cycle's been great. We've been able to hit a lot of different places with the record. We've done North America a handful of times, Mexico, Canada, Europe. So the reception's been great. We've been pretty fortunate, like I said, to just really kind of push the record across continents. Looking further into 2019, we'll, continue on that trajectory.
Yeah, awesome. What I've noticed with this particular record cycle, like the last time I saw you guys, you played with Ringworm in Vain. Now you're doing a tour right now with Terror, but in between that you did Warped Tour. Like, did you notice maybe a different type of audience or a different vibe depending on what tour you were on?
Yeah, we've been able to, again, just attract fans from a number of different scenes, a number of different places, and doing tours like this one, doing Warped Tour, doing headline tours, doing the Cannibal Corpse tour coming up. We're a band that kind of has a lot to offer to different crowds, right? And we're seeing that in the reception of the record. We're seeing that with who's coming to the shows. We're seeing that with the tours we're getting offered. So our fan base is growing. It's more diverse than ever, and we're super grateful for that.
Yeah, definitely. It's cool that you get to play to different audiences because you get your name out there, and it does keep it interesting as well, rather than playing to the same types of audiences the whole time, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Now, when I was interviewing Bo back in January, and we touched a lot on this topic, but like you guys have definitely been looped into a hardcore category, but I just recently interviewed Roger Merritt of Agnostic Front. His take on hardcore is very different, and for you guys, I was just wondering what makes a band hardcore.
Yeah, I think, when it comes to punk and hardcore, it always comes down to, the ethos and ethics of the band, what they're about, what their values are, what they will do, what they won't do, and to us, that makes a band more hardcore and more punk than your sound in general, right? So, with us, we've always kept, punk or hardcore ethos with everything we did, kind of doing things on our own terms, writing the music we wanted to write, doing the tours we wanted to do, so on and so forth, So just kind of taking an approach that is just solely ours, and not really catering to anybody else except, ourselves. So, to us, punk and hardcore is way more, like I said, of an ethos, of an ethics, of a value system, and that's something that we plan to always carry as a band. If we were ever to lose that, I would question whether or not we'd still be a band.
Yeah. Or would you still be hardcore? You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
Because like a lot of people, when they hear hardcore, they'll think of like Sick of It All or Cro-Mags. But with new generations like you guys or Twitching Tongues or Code Orange, I feel like you kind of, I don't want to say reinvented, but you kind of reminded a lot of people what made hardcore so good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and for us, just kind of, pushing the confines of what punk is, what hardcore is, what extreme music is something we've always kind of done with each record, and a lot of that came down to just us writing the music we wanted to write, not necessarily trying to consciously do anything, but it was more so just coming from an organic place and being okay with that. To me, punk and hardcore was always thinking outside the box, was always pushing the boundaries, and doing it for yourself. So that's something that we've always carried as a band, and something that will always be there moving forward.
Yeah. One thing I was always curious about is I hanging out with people who were going to like the CBGB's hardcore days, they said that hardcore and punk fans for a while hated metal and vice versa, but to me they both are very loud and aggressive in your face forms of music. I was always wondering, I was surprised when I first heard that there was a difference between the two. Do you notice, aside from maybe punk and hardcore songs being only a minute and a half sometimes, could you see a big difference? Can you see why maybe one would appreciate hardcore over metal?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of similarities. They're both kind of their own subcultures that exist within mainstream society, right? And I think that if you kind of remove some of these finite differences, people start to see like, oh, we actually have a lot more in common than we think. Having said that, obviously there's a lot more. There's like a larger value system that I think kind of exists in like punk and hardcore, as far as equality and individualism and kind of all that stuff that maybe isn't necessarily always there in metal. But I would say that we've done a number of metal tours now. We've done shows at the Gates, Black Dahlia Murder. We've done stuff with Godflesh. And meeting these people and being around these shows, you start to see that there's a lot more similarities with these folks than you would ever think, right? And a lot of these people actually come from the worlds of punk and hardcore and extreme music. So people get wrapped up in kind of these obsolete or benign differences, and it kind of creates divisions that really don't need to be there, because I think if you take a closer look, there's a lot more commonalities than there are differences.
Yeah. Well, I think a good example would be Randy Blythe from Lamb of God. I mean, that guy grew up going to Sex Pistols and Bad Brains shows, but he's in a metal band like Lamb of God. It doesn't get more metal than that.
Yeah,
so I think bands like you guys and people like Randy Blythe really kind of close that gap more and more and more.
Yeah, I mean, and you see that with that band, like bringing out bands like Power Trip or bands from our world. It kind of shows the open-mindedness that exists there.
Yeah.
So.
Of course. Now, another topic I addressed with Bo last time, and he had I get a different answer every time I interview a band from Chicago, which is where you guys are from, right? Are you in the outskirts and you just say Chicago for?
Yeah, a few of us live in the city. A couple of guys live in Milwaukee, actually. But we started in Chicago, so it's very much our home base. Yeah.
Yeah, but a lot of new bands. Obviously, there's the history of Chicago with Disturbed, Ministry, Smashing Pumpkins. But with newer bands like you guys, Wolves in the Throne Room, Russian Circles, I almost feel like there is a real happening scene with new bands emerging from there. Do you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, you have your heavy hitters, like Russian Circles, Wolves in the Throne Room, like kind of these household names, right? But, there's an ever-growing, punk, hardcore, kind of extreme music scene in Chicago. And it was interesting. Bo and I were at a show a couple weeks before this tour started. And, it was a small DIY show on a weekday. There were some touring bands on it. At a local club called the Cobra Lounge. We showed up to see some friends and check out some bands, and it was a weeknight, like I said, and it was 150 kids at a show, and it's just like, wow, just to see how much the hardcore community is growing in Chicago, the punk rock community is growing in Chicago. It's awesome. Fests like the Rumble are coming back and are now kind of a staple for our scene and for the surrounding scene. So Chicago's always happening. Obviously there's going to be lulls based on whatever, but as a music scene, it's very rich, and there's a lot to be absorbed there.
Yeah, definitely. And before we go, I wanted to thank you so much for your time. I know that you got the tour coming up with Cannibal Corpse and Hate Eternal, which is going to be awesome. Every band on that bill, though, sucks for not bringing that tour to New York City.
I think it's coming to Jersey City, which it's not too far from here, right?
Yeah. Jersey is considered the sixth borough, but I would prefer you never say that state in a. I'm kidding.
It's like our Northwest Indiana to like Chicagoans, so I understand.
But I know that just recently in Vegas, you guys had your gear rigged. And is there just anything? I know that you guys have been recovering slowly but surely from it. But is there anything that maybe anybody watching this or the fans could do to help further contribute to recovering from that?
Yeah, as far as the recovery process, there's been an outpouring of love and support from the music community in general, whether it be punk, hardcore, metal, extreme music, whatever it is. There's just been an outpouring of love and support, and it's been shown in financial ways. It's been shown in other supportive ways. So, we're doing all right. We've definitely bounced back. And like I said, there's been an outpouring of support, and all we really want moving forward is to just kind of, I guess, move on from it, right? And just try to get back to a place of normalcy and just have our shows be Harm's Way shows, moving forward, and just continue to move forward, continue to grow. because while it was probably one of the worst things that's happened to us, we have bounced back in an amazing way, thanks to the love and support of people, and it's definitely restored some of our faith in humanity. So yeah, we're more excited than ever to be a band. We're more than excited than ever to tour and to keep creating music. So as long as people are there to just consume it, we're good.
Yeah. I give you guys so much credit because it's been like an epidemic for bands lately. But from reading about you guys, it wasn't like you had a broken window in your van and stuff was missing. Somebody just unhooked the trailer, put it on their truck, and drove off with it.
Yeah. So we were in a secure lot at the Luxor Casino, which we've stayed there 10 plus times, being on tour, going through Vegas, because it is one of the only secure lots that you can find. As far as hotels / casinos are concerned, so it was just a really ironic and wacky incident that happened where our trailer was sawed off, the chains were severed and someone did away with it. So, we're working with authorities and security to try to get to the bottom of some of this. But it is what it is. We're not losing sleep over it anymore, but we're just doing the best we can to continue to move forward. And like I said, thanks to people's love and support and just contributions, we're more rejuvenated than ever. And we just, we're ecstatic to still be a band.
Yeah, I think that makes you guys more hardcore than any of the other ideas that we were just talking about, because hardcore to me represents it's not about how you fall, it's about how you get back up. And you guys didn't even miss a single tour date, right? After that, we
were very late to the show that day in San Diego, but we haven't missed a single show on this tour. And shout outs to all the bands on this tour, Terror, Backtrack, Candy, Year of the Knife. Without them, we wouldn't be able to play shows, and they kind of stepped up and literally offered us all the gear they had in order for us to continue to play shows for those first few days while we started to reacquire gear and whatnot. So we didn't miss a single show, but a lot of that has to do with just the support that we kind of got from this package. So
yeah, well, it only goes to show that you guys have awesome fans, and anybody, and this hardcore community is like anything but divided or dead for that matter.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
But I want to thank you so much for your time.
Thank you,
Chris. I don't know if you weren't up there yet. It's a war zone right now.
Yeah, can't wait to play.
Yeah. You'll see a couple bodies coming to your kit. But everybody, we are here with Chris of Harm's Way. Pick up Posthuman on Metal Blade Records if you haven't already. Catch them on their up and coming tour with Cannibal Corpse and Hate Eternal, and keep supporting. If you know anybody who is missing gear, anybody struggling with that, we're brothers in metal. We all could use your help. And we'll see you next time on Heavy New York, everybody.